The Sunday Igboho struggle you are seeing is funded by Tinubu. Yes. Because the problem at that time was that Tinubu was having issue with Buhari up north. They weren't going to accept him as a candidate. And he looked at it and said, I helped you guys to get to power. You guys don't want my candidacy. I'm going to tell the Yoruba people to leave. Started funding them. They have not denied it. So, Buhari, being who he is, came and tried to kill Sunday Igboho. Without informing the governor of Oyo State, they brought a special force or special forces from Abuja to come and kill Sunday Igboho. Sunday Igboho was in that house that day, but he was hiding. Before they came back, he had jumped the fence. Even when he was in Benin Republic, he had injuries that they were hiding from you. And he left that night. He left Nigeria that night. They wanted to kill him so that Tinubu will know that they are not playing. That's what happened. So Tinubu had to retreat because it was based on their own security intelligence that Tinubu was behind them. But they had already achieved what he wanted to achieve, which was to scare the Buhari people to know that he has the capacity to disrupt the country. And you know, an average Northerner, with due respect to them, their issue is unity. If you want to appeal to the North, just say that unity.
Giving money from the presidency.
All of the governors are receiving money. See, how you will understand the way Tinubu moves is that as he is in Lagos, most of the governors are already in Lagos. Whether they are in APCO or the other, maybe practically only 4 governors are left that have not joined him. And I can tell you that those 4 governors are already with him in principle. In fact, it might be the situation that he is the one who asked them not to join yet, so that they will look as if there is opposition in the country. For instance, when I criticize Oti, some people are saying, "Oh, Chore is supporting Tinubu." I say, which support are you talking about? Who is the number one supporter of Tinubu more than Alex Oti?
Alex Oti is supporting Tinubu?
Oh, Alex Oti and Tinubu are closer than any of these APC governors.
Hey!
No,
yes.
But personal friendship is different from party.
No. If I'm personal friends with somebody, it's different from when the person is going anywhere, I'm following the person. He wants to go and kill somebody, you see me in his company. And one other thing I want to use in closing, not closing.
Can you defend this, sir?
Of course.
Are you saying he's aiding and abetting?
No. Alex Oti is, you can ask Alex Oti that I said it. I'll give you his number.
I'm asking you, sir.
Yeah. That I said that he's closer to Tinubu than most APC governors. Alex Oti is not opposed to Tinubu's presidency. He has said it, that he will not oppose him.
No, but you can just not oppose, not propose. You can just be there.
He's not opposing him in saying that I will support his presidency. Soludo is supporting Tinubu. It's Abga. That's his candidate for the presidency. Tinubu is Alex Oti's candidate for the next election. Presidency. No, if he's not supporting
Zini,
Tinubu,
who do you think is Alex Oti's candidate?
Did you think he's supporting somebody else?
Because you are shaking your head, so I think maybe you.
Okay.
Do you think Alex Oti is supporting anybody else? Alex Oti is Tinubu's
somebody
campaign
can be
manager in
indifferent.
Abia.
Hey.
Officially, I can tell you that.
Okay, she's suggesting, is Alex Oti indifferent?
You can be indifferent
Or is he actually
and say, I'm not
supporting?
He's not indifferent.
Why do you say so?
Because I have information that you don't have. But even the information that is available, the last visit of Tinubu to Lagos, he was visited by all the governors, mostly APC governors. The photo is still there. Oti was standing there to visit him. Oti goes wherever Tinubu goes. Ideologically, they are all glued together. Oti cannot deny this. This is honest bunch. You want me to be honest?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
telling you the truth.
All right, so Babashu, you have given us history of political leadership,
Yes.
especially from 1983, and you have spoken about Alex Oti, former governor Raji Fashola.
And I wanted to say something before I forget.
It's okay.
Now, have you guys now abandoned Obi as the best governor of the Southeast? Because that's what you used to say to us. Are you paying attention? So Obi is no longer the best governor that ever came out. It's now Alex Oti. So you have all agreed that Obi was mediocre.
Talking about
No, before Obi,
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
You have given us the history. You have also cited examples of, political office holders.
Yes.
You said you spoke to Fashola and told him half of Lagos is odorized.
The other is
It's deodorized and the rest is
The
ghettoized.
other is ghettoized.
Yeah.
You also spoke about a half transformation of Abia State under Alex Oti, and you say you believe in total transformation.
Yes, that's exactly what I said in the video.
Now,
Yes.
my question is,
And it's based on lived experience.
Yes.
I was in Aba,
my question is, when you speak about a public office holder
Yes.
looking at the degeneration of Nigeria's political system, and then you can at least say somebody is doing half transformation
Yes.
and somebody half deodorized, half ghettoized.
Yes.
It means that of the system they met in place, they are at least making efforts. You spoke about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and governors having access to more funds now.
Yes.
If under his administration, governors have access to more funds, and these governors also have constitutional responsibility, do you think that the buck stops at his table? Do you think we should blame him if governors fail in their own responsibility? Because if he makes funds available to them and they are supposed to discharge their responsibility so that the citizens can benefit directly from them, don't you think he has to a considerable degree done his part?
No. You see, the reason is this. The president of Nigeria is some of the most powerful presidents in the world. It's almost unchecked power. And not only does he have a right or duty and responsibility to give them funds, he's got also the duty to, fiduciary duty to make sure that the funds are spent for what they are meant. That is the reason he has EFCC directly under his office. But anytime a governor is harassed by EFCC, just know that they want the governor to go to APC. That's what they are doing to the guy in Bauchi. It's the same judge that is trying me for calling Tinubu a criminal that is trying his accountant general. So we know the reason. The moment he decides tomorrow to join APC, they will withdraw the charges against his accountant general.
All his sins will be forgiven.
They will be forgiven, according to your comrade uncle, Shomole.
Your fellow comrade.
If there's anything that makes me uneasy, it's being called a comrade, because these guys have bastardized the word comrade. But that's a conversation for another symposium in the future. The point I am making is that Tinubu, for instance, made a decision through his attorney general to ask local government funds to be released directly to local government. Ask yourself what happened to it. He took a politically convenient position when they protested. And you cannot have development without releasing funds to local governments, because that is where the real governance is.
Well, funds are being released to them now.
No, it's still released through the governors. You see, if you don't know the mechanics of how they operate, if you're a governor loyal to them, the funds will come. What they'll do is that the governors will go appoint local government chairman. And when the funds...
But elections are conducted.
Look, let me tell you, the worst electoral body in Nigeria are the state electoral commissions. They are the worst. If anybody were to suggest to me what we should do, even as bad as INEC is, I would still prefer INEC to conduct local government elections than state electoral commissions. Any state you go to conduct elections for local government, the results are ready before the elections are held. Yes, you can quote me anywhere, including in your own Abia, where OT cleared all the local government positions.
The local government is supposed to be government closest to the people.
Yes, through a party that is previously unknown to humanity, known as the ZLP. Zenith Labour Party. Have you ever heard about Zenith Labour Party? I'm sure you have.
I think I heard during...
Yes. Zenith Labour Party is not a Mimiko. Mimiko is Labour Party.
I heard.
Yes. ZLP is owned by one guy known as Nwanyao, who's a friend of mine. Yes, the man that's always wearing the baller hat. So they went with OT. They did what they had to do. So this is the reason why these conversations are necessary. Deep, honest conversations about governance, about characteristics of your leaders or the people you call your leaders, your rulers. We must have very deep historical, contemporary conversation about performance. The reason why you are referring to, I told you, I was even generous by saying that it's half transformation. Because for me, transformation has to be total in the sense that I want to go to a local government in Abia State and find a secondary school that I can send my child to.
I want to ask you a question. You have said, and I wrote it down to be properly quoted, You said Peter Obi wants to change Nigeria, but he's in the company of questionable characters. One question. Second question is, should Obi have won the election? Sorry, I'm asking you 3 questions. Second
You have
question.
to remind me of this
I will
question.
remind you.
I'm older now.
Second question
Yeah.
is easy to lump it together. Second question, did Obi really win the 2023 elections? Third question, if Obi had won the 2023 election, do you think he would have done better than what Tinubu is doing right now?
That was the reason I was opposed to Obi in 2022 and 2023, even when the whole country was saying, oh, he's better than, peanut butter. I said, look, how you will tell me what you did to Nigeria, you will show me what you did to your states when you were there for 8 years. And I've asked this question of all the people who support to be in this country. Nobody has been able to answer my question. Can you go and spend your next vacation in Anambra that will be left behind? Is there running water there? No. Did you build any schools that you can send your children to? The answer is no. They will tell you that you should go and verify. It was go and verify that took me to Abia. I have verified now. You all are upset. Because I am a person who is scientific in nature. Most people, and I keep saying this, don't know Obi more than I do. I knew Obi as far back as 2007 when he was governor of Anambra State. I was in the US and we were doing reporting on him so that his mandate would not be stolen from him by Chris Uba, the Uba brothers, who were Obasanjo's lackeys, the ones that arrested and detained Ngige. Yes, in 2003.
Chris
Remember
and
that?
Andy.
Yes, Chris and Andy Uba. So we fought for Obi to the point that, and you can ask Obi this if you find him, if his memory has not left him. When I first met Obi, was in front of Professor Chino Achebe at Rhode Island in the US. He said to Achebe, he said, I've never met this Showore before, but if not for this guy and Sahara reporters, I wouldn't have I wouldn't be governor for 2 seasons. Because every time, they stole the election from him, and then they ensured that he was impeached, even when he was actively in office. But by the time we were done with following Obi through media, we discovered that the guy didn't do anything. Everything he did was substandard. You could never find any road that he constructed that has not been eroded. He didn't build any school. These things are not things that were told to me. These are things that I covered. And he's very good at propaganda, to the point that when we then turned against him as Sahara reporters, I'm saying it because when we found out, we started reporting on all his shenanigans, he was very upset. There's a guy known as Valentin OBM. He's one of the most rabid propagandists there is in the world. They were so upset with us. They went and printed posters in Aba accusing me and Oke Ndibe, who was a columnist with Sahara reporters, of being gay.
Hey.
And posted it all over Aba. I still have a copy of the posters. It was done by this Valentine OBM, but Obi was the one who greenlighted it. Because one thing most people don't know about Obi is that...
Are you saying that Peter Obi started a smear campaign against
you? Of course.
You?
Look, it was what he was doing even in... Anybody who was under him as governor will tell you, the Catholics, the Anglicans, they have a history of his way of, blackballing people. So, and we continued regardless until he went back, left APGA and joined the PDP and was working under Goodluck Jonathan as a special advisor. He was an economic advisor under Jonathan. So it's not like Obi left Anambra and went on vacation. He was still actively in government. In fact, at the time that Buhari came, Obi was the chairman of, I think, the stock exchange in Nigeria, I think in Lagos. So it was Buhari that kicked him out of that position. That was his last known position before he came back in 2022. I'm just telling you all these things so that you will understand that we are speaking from a place of knowledge and history. We know these people. I don't like to call myself a journalist because I get crashed into journalism just like Daddy Freeze did for broadcasting. But, we all have tried in our own ways to change the face of broadcasting and journalism today, just because we're a little bit ahead of others in understanding where the world was headed.
It was a three-pronged question.
Yes. So the question about whether he won the election.
Yes.
It is Obi who determines how he wanted to validate that. And when the election was over, if you go and check the interview I did with Ruben Abati on Arise TV, where you say, Shure, how market? That was how he opened. He was trying to ridicule me. And I said to him, there was no election. So the idea of somebody winning does not even work. He said, are you going to the tribunal? I said, I'm not going to the tribunal to go and defend what I witnessed that did not happen. So Obi's people reached out to me and said, we have to fight. I said, yes. Because we were one of the parties that pulled out of the announcement that night. Until today, I'm convinced that had Obi taken the advice I gave them when they contacted me, we would have changed the course of history.
What was the advice?
The advice was that people should pour onto the streets and prevent INEC from announcing the result of an election that did not happen. But they decided that they don't want to protest. The only condition I gave in person is that Obi must lead it. Because I'm not a mercenary, I'm not going to lead a protest for you. It's all of us, so that if we are getting killed, we understand that we are getting killed. You are not the first rich man who had to fight for his election. But he decided that he wants to go to the courts. And that is where you go and find out if you won or not. Of course, when they went to court, I told them, I'm not going to court. I don't believe in Nigerian judiciary as well. That's the truth. But they started also blackballing everybody. I on the judiciary. And I remember sitting down and for the first time laughing. I said, anybody that has looked at the Nigerian judiciary, his eyes will catch conjunctivitis.
Apollo.
It's called Apollo. And that's what happened. So the route he took validated his conviction otherwise. That they told him in the at the Supreme Court that he didn't win the election. And he packed his things and left. What do you want to do? He's the one who went that route. And those are ways of... I have been opposed to this, and I say it. You cannot have 20 million people vote an election and wait for 7 judges to determine who won. That's wrong. And it's going to repeat itself again if we don't adopt a different method. Because between the time the Supreme Court decided that case and now, Tinubu has appointed 11 Supreme Court justices. And they only need 7 to whitewash whatever they do next. And they've already started now. The judiciary already started. They started this time earlier than normal.
Obi supporters always believe that Obi would have done a better job should he have come in. That was part of the question.
No, I've said it several times. Obi is not different from Tinubu or Atiku. That's why he doesn't also mince word by calling them his senior brothers. They are the same. He doesn't. That is why I tell you, I was the first to tell most people that Obi's foray into the Labour Party was a rental arrangement. And then when the rent expires, he will move to another place. Has he not moved now finally to where he really belongs, where his senior brothers are and junior ones at the ADC? If somebody was here on Honest Bunch in 2022 and he mentioned Obi and Malami, you guys will pull a pistol and shoot the person. So those are structures of criminality. How can you compare Obi with them? Where is Obi today? He's very ensconced and wrapped up in the embrace and warmth of the structures of criminality.
But in his response, he cited the example of our Lord Jesus Christ and his interactions with prostitutes and tax collectors.
Yes.
He says that he will change them.
Did Jesus Christ sleep with a prostitute?
He didn't.
Okay,
Never.
So what are you talking about? Changing prostitutes and maintaining a dignified distance from them.
But understanding...
No, wait now. The only time Jesus Christ came close to a prostitute, they were trying to lynch the person. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Father, you are the father of our online church. So, and his intervention was, if any one of you haven't done this before, And everybody left. Jesus did not take the prostitute home. Obi took the prostitutes home and is in bed with the prostitutes.
But Babashu, if we look at Nigeria's
even now you bring Bible commentary. Why are you running away?
No, before we go deep, if we look at the political setup of Nigeria,
yes,
you had people like Prince Vincent Ogbula for saying the PDP will rule for a century and the
60 years.
But in 20, we
are the ones who told them that it was a mirage.
Exactly. You told them it was a mirage, and we saw a collision. Of political heavyweights.
Coalition, yes.
That came together.
You are right to call it a collusion.
No. That came together and kicked the PDP out of office.
Yes.
Now.
And that's the APC.
And the APC.
And you are proud of them now?
No, I'm saying if you have political heavyweights coming together now to say these people have not done well, that you have also agreed that the APC as a political party have not done well for the Nigerian people.
Yes.
And they want to work together. Don't you think all these people need all the support that they can get to kick them out of office?
You see, you mentioned earlier that there was a coalition in 2015.
A collusion.
A collusion.
Now, coalition, I want to make a mistake.
But the fact is that what is lessons and experience for you? Is it not to learn not to make the same mistakes?
Were you part of that? Did you support the coalition?
Never. You see, the collusion.
You know, when you started,
coalition.
Holy Spirit take control.
Coalition. Did you support the coalition?
No.
That video of you.
Yes.
One night, I think it was the night that they declared President Muhammadu Buhari as the winner of the election.
Yes.
You were in the midst of APC supporters. They were raising your hand. You were smiling. No. Everyone was excited.
So, you don't. This is why I'm happy you raised the issue. In 2015, I was firmly a reporter. Sahara Reporters. Sahara Reporters, for the first time in the history of this country, declared the election results before INEC concluded announcement of results, because we're getting election results from PDP, Situation Room, and APC. By that afternoon, before INEC finished, because most of you don't understand the trajectory of history, I was coming from INEC, where they were declaring the election. And Jonathan, we had been told that Jonathan had called Buhari to concede halfway into the announcement. So I moved from INEC, where we were monitoring. You see that I have camera around me and a tag. The tag was given to me by INEC. And before we got to the place where the announcement was made, there was a major crisis. The Minister of Niger Delta at that time, Orubebe, had sat on the floor and wanted to scatter.
We will not take it.
We will not take it. So I arrived shortly after that, and Jonathan had called Buhari to concede. So I left the International Conference Center and started driving to the APC headquarters. Now, don't forget that Sahara Reporters had already broken the story that Buhari had won, which partially forced Jonathan to call Buhari. So I walked into the place with my camera, and someone just said, "This is Shore, publisher of Sahara Reporters." And they gathered around me. I said, "Wow." So I was celebrating
with them.
I'm supposed to be crying for doing a great job, right? For me, it was the apogee of my job as a journalist, that you could break one of the biggest stories ever in the history of Nigeria. It was a moment that I appreciated, that the platform that I created with a laptop got to that point in 2015. And they celebrated. It was like, "This is Shore." I was the one, don't forget, who uploaded the video on my page, on my YouTube, on Sahara Reporters YouTube page. And I put it there, say, "Dole, change Dole," which was what they were shouting at that time, change by force in Hausa. Then Reno Omokri, who was your darling at that time, you people's darling, took the video and said, "This is Showore celebrating Buhari's election into office." And that was how the video was turned around to say I was celebrating Buhari. At that time, Reno Omokri was working with Jonathan. I was still working with Jonathan. This is your Reno. None of you knew that while Reno claimed he was working with Jonathan, he had already started working with Buhari Because Reno Omokri's first foray into Nigeria was facilitated by El Rufai. His first job at the presidency was to work with Atiku as vice president to Obasanjo. He was working with Garba Shehu.
That's Reno Omokri.
Yes, they were sharing the same office. More news will come about that in the future. And El Rufai was the person who was his handler. But Reno, being who he is, had moved on to Jonathan because he always moves to places where his bread is buttered. So he was the one who was coordinating propaganda for them at that time. And I was their target because I declared the election before INEC did. That's what happened. The same thing you are celebrating that you are talking about happened to me in Ghana. I also went and covered the Ghanaian election. And when I went to the headquarters of the party that won at that time, it was the same experience with Nigeria. The ruling party lost to the opposition party. That's how that old man came. He defeated Mahama, who is now back in power.
Yeah.
I was celebrated the same way because they were watching Sahara reporters at that time. I was with Segun Olo in Ghana. He would testify to this. We were celebrated the same way. But because there's no video to show that, I'm just telling you so that you would understand where the video came from. I was the one who personally uploaded the video saying these people were shouting, change Idole, because we were waiting for Buhari to come and accept he's winning the election. Buhari didn't show up until I went to sleep. In fact, if I had arrived at venue earlier, they would have carried me on the shoulder. Dino Melaye and the rest of them. That night, Dino Melaye even invited me to his house with Joyce. Joyce is the person that Wike fought, you know, who Akpabio, Joyce Nunes, who accused Akpabio of sexual harassment, the first woman in the Niger Delta who was doing high rep. They invited me. I told them I don't go to parties. If I'd arrived earlier, I would have met all of these Saraki as they were jubilating. Where's the governor of Rotimi Amechi? So, and the question I asked to close that chapter is, if you people hated the APC then, why are you in love with them now? That's the question. You hated them to the point that, Shore was jubilating. Who do you think the people were in the APC room upstairs? I went upstairs too. I saw all of them. Malami, Saraki, Dino Melaye, all these people that you are now in ADC with were the people who brought Buhari to power. So if you hated Buhari, I'm telling you, if Buhari were still to be alive, all of you will be back. He will be the chairman of your political party by now. That's the hypocrisy that you all are about.
I'd like to ask.
Yes, please.
Many people that don't believe in you, the people that don't believe in you would cite an example of Sunday Igboho.
Yes.
They would say Sunday has been shouting, criticizing the Nigerian government.
Yoruba nation.
And just saying that this is not a good place to be. But right now, it seems like he's in bed with the same people he was criticizing. And when they look at you, they're like, won't it be the same?
So why don't you say that about Obi?
But I'm asking you.
No, I'm just
about
saying.
You.
No. We're having a conversation. The people we are talking about, Sunday Igboho. Sunday Igboho is actually even better because of his limitations, which is not the conversation for discussion here. But what Sunday Igboho said was that he was sitting in his house one day and the Yoruba nation people, actually in diaspora, came and said, "This is our dual flag." And being the person that he is, he took up the fight, and they started supporting him. But the reason you can't compare that with Maron case is that when did you know Sunday Igboho? You probably knew him 2 years ago, maybe 3 years, maximum 4 years ago. And he was asking for Yoruba nation based on what they asked him to do. If you go and watch my position when they started Yoruba nation, I said it with one guy called Mayegun Diary. You probably know him, who has also now jumped to Peter Obi from Yoruba Nation to Peter Obi. I said to him, the Sunday Igboho struggle you are seeing is funded by Tinubu.
Ah.
Yes. Because the problem at that time was that Tinubu was having issue with Buhari up north. They weren't going to accept him as a candidate. And he looked at it and said, I helped you guys to get to power. You guys don't want my candidacy. I'm going to tell the Yoruba people to leave. Started funding them. They have not denied it. So,
Oh, wow.
Buhari being who he is,